Hi guys, and welcome to my favorite time of the week where I get to just talk to you all about all the wonderful things that are happening on Kickstarter. Speaking of, have you all seen that GameFound is now starting to do crowdfunding? So at some point I might have to update this to not just the Kickstarter Diaries, but the crowdfunding diaries, because Kickstarter could be in with a little bit of competition, particularly when it comes to board games. So it'll be interesting to see how a website that is solely dedicated to board games would implement crowdfunding a little bit differently. Anyway, but for now, we're on Kickstarter, and there are a few things to share this week, and nothing that I was indecisive about actually. When all of the different campaigns launched, I was like, back, and that was it. So let's see where my money is going this week. The first thing that I backed this week, no surprises here, was Cartographers Heroes and the 3 map pack expansions. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Cartographers, although I'm sure most of you are, it was exceptionally popular polyomino tile laying roll and write. And in actual fact, it's a flip and write. So you're flipping cards that have different polyomino tiles on it, and then you're all drawing those on maps, and they come along with different terrains, and it's a super engaging little puzzle. And I think that Maggie and I, we played it for so long, but it got a bit stale because there wasn't a lot of variation in the cards. So we're super excited to welcome this, actually a standalone game. So if you haven't got Cartographers already, you can pick it up with this Kickstarter. It has it's basically the base game with additional characters, and then you can also get the different maps. But if you already own the game like we do, there's a special collector's edition. Let me show you the different pledges. So this is really cool. It's introducing new types of ways to ambush your competitors. So before there was only really one type of monster, but now the zombie is really cool because you draw zombies around a particular tile, and if they don't surround the zombies that you've drawn on their map, then the next round they multiply. So it's like the zombie kind of zombie plague coming after you. So that's really cool. And then there different special abilities that you can have as well. You can see there's ambush cards, hero cards. This is coming with the core Cartographer Hero set. It's got the same map as before, so you have to, if you're backing heroes, you might also want to grab some of the different map expansions. But the collector's edition is a big box that is a Kickstarter exclusive. So if you want this, you're going to have to back it on Kickstarter. And it comes with not only the new Heroes standalone game, which has similarities with the base game, but also the 3 new map expansions. And this is certainly something we're going to pick up because it also has space in the box to put in everything. If you own the base game, that if you've got some of the expansions in there already, that were kind of like special promotions, you can put that in there as well and keep everything in a nice set. And what's also cool is it now includes like colored pencils, and yeah, they're not expensive to buy, right? But it's fun to have it all in one box. And I've seen some beautiful art of people drawing the polyomino pieces, really cool. So anyway, Legendary Cartographer was my backing on this one. I'm going all in, not a surprise. It's a great game. Now, the next game that was an instant back for me was Unforgiven. And this was one that I didn't see coming until last week. I mentioned last week that it was on Rado's playthroughs for last month. He ranked this quite highly. And what actually got me in was the fact that the gameplay is meant to be quite similar to Seven Wonders Duel, which is one of Maggie and my favorite 2-player games. And one of the mechanisms that I love most about that is the partial information that's given to you with the pyramid style laying out of cards. And it's the same here in Unforgiven. And even though I didn't really know much about the Lincoln assassination trial. That was not something that, as an Australian, we learnt a lot about. But since this game has launched on Kickstarter, I read a little bit about Mary Surratt, who that's what this game is about. you are either defending or prosecuting Mary Surratt back in the time where Lincoln was assassinated. And what's super interesting is that it's still one of the most controversial trials. It was then, but it also is now, because there's no real consensus over whether she was guilty or not, and she was the first female to be executed by the US government. And actually, Mary Surratt, her husband had died and she owned a boarding house. And in that boarding house, a lot of the conspirators for the Lincoln assassination were actually staying in the boarding house, and her son was also meant to be implicated in this conspiracy. And she was actually handed a pair of binoculars at some point to deliver between the different conspirators. And so she was charged with abetting and aiding. Excuse me. So she was charged with abetting and aiding the prisoners, and was subsequently sentenced to death. And so it's kind of interesting that at the moment of the execution, one of the conspirators actually, right before they were executed, said out loud, Mary Surratt is innocent and she doesn't deserve to be up here with us. And so super interesting, and I didn't know any of that until this game came out. I love that games can be educational like that. But in this game, you are essentially playing out that trial with the different characters. I'm super excited about it. I've backed for the collector's edition, which comes with some more, fancy engraved wooden tokens and velvet drawstring bags and all of those Kickstarter goodies. So backed that one straight away. And now the next one is one that I was surprised that I backed straight away, and that's Frostpunk. And you can see that Frostpunk has already made well over $1 million in funding, and it was very much anticipated. It was a video game to begin with, and now it's a board game. And the underlying premise of both the video game and the board game is that you're one of the last remaining cities on Earth. It's kind of got a steampunk theme, and essentially there's an ice age. And in this ice age, you are controlling this city and its citizens, and you're trying to keep everybody alive, but also make decisions that are going to affect the city. So I believe a lot of the story elements are about having a moral compass in terms of whether you protect people or you sacrifice people for the greater good. So I think the theme is a little bit dark. It might not be for everybody. I should also note that this is a cooperative game. And if you watch our videos, you would know that I'm definitely not a cooperative gamer. Maggie can be convinced to be a cooperative gamer, but certainly still prefers competitive games. But we are always searching for the cooperative game experience that's going to be the one that makes us realize how fun a cooperative game can be. And so I have backed this one. The other thing that I really liked about it is you can see this Quackalope quote here. A compelling, strategically deep Euro driven by emergent storytelling, and anything that can take a heavy Euro and make it thematic is a huge win for us, because, me being thinker and into mechanics and Maggie being the dreamer themer, it's rare that we can find a game that ticks both boxes. But look at this game. It's just, I don't know how anyone could resist this. The miniatures that are included in the deluxe pledge are just phenomenal, especially the buildings. If I can scroll down here, they give you two options. So the deluxe pledge is quite a bit more than the core pledge. So if cost is an issue, obviously you could go with the core pledge. But the deluxe pledge does come with more than 100 plastic miniatures, if that's your thing. I'm really into that at the moment. But also, as some other reviewers have pointed out, if the theme is a little too dark and the thought of letting children die for the sake of the greater good maybe doesn't sit well with you, maybe the Meeple version might be a little less realistic and easier to swallow in terms of the theme. But let me scroll down. So these are the miniatures, some of the buildings here. And if you back on Kickstarter, instead of making the miniatures themselves exclusive, for people who back on Kickstarter, they're going to pre-shade them. And, that takes a lot of work I mean, it's fairly easy to shade, but it does take time, and having it professionally done obviously is going to look really great on the table. So I'm excited about that little freebie. It's really not a freebie when you're spending that much on a deluxe pledge. But anyway, let's talk about the game for a moment. So in the center of the board, and what really gives this game such table presence is this generator. And in my understanding of the way that the generator works is that you've got coal or some kind of fuel that you're dropping down into the top of the tower, and then some of them will stay in there, as in they're fueling the tower, and some of them will actually fall to the bottom and into this drawer at the bottom, which you can then take them out. But the ones that fall through are basically indicating that powering up the generator has caused it some damage. And so those cubes then become an amount of damage that obviously flows through to the story and potentially the way that you either win or lose each game. So that's really cool. The components just look super lovely. I'm not usually a story person, but I am kind of excited about the theme in general. Not that it's so dark, but just that you're making decisions and that moral compass that's going to play out throughout the story. So I am excited. Obviously, this one won't be through till October 2021, but future Amy hopefully will love this. Have a look at these buildings. They are just, the level of detail on those buildings is just phenomenal. It feels like every game that's launching on Kickstarter is just leveling up in terms of components. Anyway, so that is Frostpunk. Now, there was only, as I said, there was nothing that I was undecided about. It's pretty clear cut that I wanted to back these, but I do have just one game, or it's not really a game, but if I had a collection of dice, which I do not, because I don't play really any D&D or anything like that, or any particular, dice games have a lot of luck and we tend to favor dry euros. But if you were a collector of dice, I think this is a really cute little Kickstarter, which is by Steve Jackson Games, so a well-known publisher, publishing a book called The Random Fun Generator. And all it is a little book that has a number of 20 games that you can play with just a set of dice. And that could be regular die, or it could be fancy ones, but I think that if you're into little dice games, that this could be a nice little back. Now, on to things that are happening next week. The first thing that I'm excited about for next week is Veiled Fate. And Veiled Fate has been one of those projects that has targeted me correctly, but relentlessly on all of my social media. So I have heard about this coming for so long, and they didn't give much away to begin with, but now it's starting to become clearer what kind of game this is. In this game, they call it themselves strategic deduction, and they're saying that this is a new genre of game, which includes elements of deduction games, like if you think Avalon or Werewolf, those kind of games where you have a secret identity with strategic decision making. And my understanding of the way that this plays out is that you, at the beginning of the game, you are aligned with one particular character, or that you are somehow part of their lineage, as it says here. And but you need to conceal that until the end of the game, and you want that character to win, but you need to disguise the fact that you are helping it to win. Classic deduction style game, but that plays out on the board by the placement of these characters, and they go on quests, and that reminds me a lot of Avalon, of course. So you'll have a group that's going on a quest, and then each person playing will be able to vote on whether that quest is a success or a failure, very much like Avalon. But once that is revealed, I believe there are other ways that you can influence what happens next, because it might not be as straightforward as, the numbers of ticks to crosses or whatever their scheme is, but there are other things that happen along the way that can kind of mess with that vote. So yeah, I'm sure there's more going on here. I'm just not sure where the strategy comes in really. I'm sure about how deduction comes in, but not quite sure how the game plays out. So I'm looking forward to seeing this Kickstarter next week and checking it out, and obviously talking about it in more detail. Now, the one next week that I'm super, super excited about is For Sale Advisors. So if you're not familiar with the game For Sale, well, what are you doing on this channel? What are you doing? Because For Sale came out 23 years ago. 23 years ago, and is still so loved by so many, us included. It is a fantastic small box game that has so much strategy in it, and it really plays out over 2 rounds. One where you're bidding on different types of housing or houses. One is just a cardboard box all the way through to being out in space. So, a whole range of residences. And then in the second phase, you are kind of all revealing one at a time from your hand of the ones that you purchased in the first round, to then try and make the most money. And there's way more to it than that, but it's a really quick game. I do a games night at my office, and lunchtime games, and this is one that everybody loves, everybody understands it. My mum is weirdly good at this game, and I'm excited about Advisors because Advisors is an expansion coming next week that gives you a third stage, and that's third stage happens first, so before the other two. And I believe that it gives you these advisors or characters that then influence some things that happen in round 2 and round 3. So they obviously are going to give you ways to break the usual game. But what's also really exciting about next week and this expansion coming out is that at the same time, and I think in the same Kickstarter, you'll be able to pick up For Sale Autorama. For Sale Autorama is a reskin of For Sale, which is exactly the same game, but with the addition of that Advisors expansion that I mentioned. So it has the expansion in the base game, but reskinned as an auto market. And I think that is so great. I can already think about a friend who loves For Sale, but he's car crazy, and I can't wait to pick up a copy for him and surprise him with it because, bidding on cars is going to be way more exciting to him than bidding on houses. So stay tuned for this one next week. And now the last little one that I wanted to mention, I always have something random that's not exactly a board game. This time it's enamel pins, and I don't really collect enamel pins. I mean, the closest I get to it are stickers that I have all over my laptop, or all over different things, like my luggage and that type of thing. And so no surprise, I have backed this set of cute little board game related stickers. So I've backed the stickers, but there are pins as well if you like pins, because these are board game isms and they are just so cute. Yes, I do need all these board games. I really love this one. Less AP, more VP. Classic. I really like Whose Turn Is It? So these are just things that come up in every game night, constantly saying whose turn is it and constantly saying who shuffled this. I love that. And, it's gloriously nerdy. They are the best. And I really just can't wait to grab these stickers. I might add some pins as well, just to share with friends, because I think these are just super great. And this is actually by an artist called Polaya Design. And this is the second time that they've had pins and stickers, board game related. So I think you could feel pretty confident that this would be a quality back that would deliver. So that's it for this week. Let me stop sharing my screen with you. Thank you for playing along with what I'm spending my money on. Which ones are you most excited about? Have you backed everything? Did you get sucked in by the deluxe pledge of Frostpunk? It's just every time you think that you're done with spending for the year, something like that launches, and I don't even think that it's going to be the last big game this year, but at least it gives us something to focus on in 2020 and something to be excited about in 2021. But thank you for tuning in to my Kickstarter Diaries. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I look forward to chatting more games next week. Bye for now.